Please be upstanding for the Chair of Stratford District Council, Councillor Kate Rolfe. Thank you.
Thank you, members. Can I ask you to remain standing, please? I would like to introduce you to the Reverend Dr. Paul Edmondson, who will lead us in a thought before today's meeting. Paul.
Thank you, Councillor Rolfe. The thought for the day is a poem by one of the nation's favourites, Wendy Cope. It's called Christmas Song. Why is the baby crying on this his special day, when we have brought him lovely gifts and laid them on the hay? He's crying for the people who greet this day with dread, because somebody dear to them is far away or dead. For all the men and women whose love affairs went wrong, who try their best at merriment when Christmas comes along. For separated parents whose turn it is to grieve, while children hang their stockings up elsewhere on Christmas Eve. For everyone whose burden, carried through the year, is heavier at Christmas time, the season of good cheer. That's why the baby's crying there in the cattle stall. He's crying for those people. He's crying for them all. Thank you, Councillor Rolfe.
Thank you, Paul. And Merry Christmas.
Happy Christmas. Happy Christmas to all of you councillors. Keep up the good work into 2026.
Thank you. I declare this meeting of the Council open. You may be seated. Welcome to the full Town Council meeting of the 8th of December. Oh gosh, yes.
I'm in the wrong meeting.
Uh-oh.
I'll be back.
Okay. Apologies. Welcome to this full council meeting at the 8th of December. There are no planned fire alarms scheduled at this time. Therefore, should the fire alarm go off, please make your way out of the building via the nearest fire exit to the car park beside the Windmill Public House. Councillors, when addressing the meeting, please stand and ensure your microphone is switched on and that you speak directly into the microphone so that it is picked up via the live audio feed. I know I mentioned this last time, I'm going to mention it again. I'm still going to meetings and seeing councillors do that to the side. It's really got to be literally in front of your mouth. When you finish addressing the meeting, please turn off your microphone immediately. Please do not move the microphone from its set position. And when speaking, ensure the microphone is directly in front of you and not to the side or up high. I would now like to ask Marcia Eccleston to say a few words about the advice on debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. As regards debate today, as agreed by the Chair, debate rules would normally be for 5 minutes per councillor. On this occasion, the Chair has decided that will be 3 minutes, given the length of the agenda and the items that need to be discussed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Marcia. So, item 1, apologies for absence. David, are there any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we have apologies from Councillor Adam, Bromwich, Hatch, Ostrander, Padgham and Rock. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 2, declarations of interest. I now ask the monitoring officer to advise on dispensations.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not aware of any dispensations on the items on the agenda for today. However, that might become apparent as councillors speak.
Thank you. Do any members or officers have any further declarations of interest on items on the agenda? Councillor Petrovic.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so I work for the Office of Manuela Petagella, the MP for Stratford-on-Avon, and there are some items on the agenda that might relate to the work that I do for her, but I come with an open mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Holmes.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, same also. I work in the office of Manuela Petagella, so there's some items which overlap with some of the business she's done, but I come with an open mind completely to this debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Holmes. Any further declarations of interest? Thank you. Moving on to item 3, the minutes. I now seek a proposer and seconder for the minutes of the meeting held on the 13th of October and the extraordinary meeting held on the 17th of November. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Johnson.
Can I propose?
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Brown. Thank you very much. All agreed, councillors? Thank you. Item 4, announcements. We now move on to the announcements. And we're going to start with mine. I can't see the pictures, so once the pictures show. Right, I've been to lots of lovely stuff in the last 3 months. I can't actually see the screen from here, but is there a screen there? No, okay. That particular event was some young ladies from Sixth Form Girls Grammar School who set up a small company called Cookie Crumbs, and they made wonderful biscuits as part of their enterprise scheme, and they sold them on behalf of my charity. So that was a particularly wonderful event. Thank you to them. Well, I think some of you might recognise the people in that picture there. We attended the Herald's Awards, which was, again, a rather lovely event. This was World Menopause Day. Who would have thought? It's been a long time for me, but I was asked to do the closing speech, and it was a fantastic day, organised by a lady called Aline Boblin, who is going to do it again next year. Lots and lots of advice, so I was sending out details of that next year. And remembrance note, that's Shakespeare Distillery and Whitnash Civil Service. Yes, it's I took our MP Manuela Petagella to Shakespeare's Distillery, which was brilliant. Remembrance Day. And no, that's not Remembrance Day. No, sorry, I really can't see, so it's quite difficult. No, that's 40s evening, and there is Remembrance in there somewhere, and I went to visit the Sea Cadets. That was rather wonderful. Oh, this was an Only Fools and Horses evening, and the whole cast from, well, not the real cast, obviously, but yes, they came to entertain us, and that's me with Manuela on Remembrance Sunday. That's me at various events. I really can't see the pictures from here, but I could see my chain. Oh, cocktail masterclass. Yes, that was interesting. Learning how to make cocktails and drinking them. Council civic dinner, and again watching Love's Labour's Lost at Kes. Wonderful talent in the sixth form at Kes. Oh, that's me balancing a bauble. Are you impressed? Come on, look. Yeah, that was sheer fluke, but that was a lovely evening at the Coventry Civic Dinner in the beautiful building next to the cathedral. I think that's it. So happy Christmas and Happy New Year to you all. Further announcements from Susan. Councillor Juno.
I've got no particular announcements at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any announcements, Chief Executive David Buckland?
No, thank you, Chair.
Right, thank you very much. So item 5, report of the returning officer. I would like to welcome 2 new district councillors to the council following elections in Quinton and Salford Priors and Ulster rural wards. Can the 2 new councillors please be upstanding? So I would like to welcome to the council Councillor Paul Harrison on my right-hand side and Councillor Ashley Jones on my left-hand side. I really hope you enjoy being with us in the council. Thank you. I move that the council place on record its thanks to the following councillors who have retired as district councillors: Dominic Skinner and Lauren Stanley. Thank you. Move on to item 6, political balance. I invite Councillor Juned as leader of the council to introduce this item.
Before you, you have a paper with the new political balance calculation as of November 2025, after the various by-elections. So it's just for noting that there is a difference in the political balance. Thank you.
Can I have your confirmation that the political balance is noted, please, councillors? Thank you. Item 7, public participation. In accordance with the council's constitution, questions may only be asked when received by the head of paid service 2 clear days before the day of the meeting. Item 7 on the agenda is public participation. We have received 2 questions from the public. Question 1 from Guy Esnulf. I apologise if I haven't pronounced your name properly. Please approach the table, and do you have a supplementary question? Oh, I'm sorry. Could you turn on your microphone on the button at the front? Thank you.
Yes, and please don't apologise over how my name is pronounced. It's not your fault, it's silly, it's not mine. It just is. Thank you for the response to the question. It wouldn't be quite right to call it an answer. What I asked was, will the council look at the impact of the South Warwickshire local plan options on Stratford itself? The answer received was we'd look at community facilities, public transport, and the specific sites. So the short answer was no. They won't look at the impact on Stratford itself. This council might be wound up, might change, whatever option that might be, and it would be both sad and ironic if one of its major last acts was to seriously damage the town it's here to represent. So could I ask again, either before Regulation 19 or after Regulation 19, given the timescales, that whatever sites are put forward, there is also a consideration of the impact of those sites on Stratford itself. Thank you.
Councillor Coucher.
If I can respond directly to that. Clearly, we are facing a very enormous challenge in relation to meeting the requirements of the South Warwickshire local plan. And I know that councillors will be attending a briefing workshop on Wednesday evening to look at the various options that we have for that. Clearly, where we place development within the district has to be looked in the round in terms of how it affects existing development. One of the problems that we've had in this council in the past is that we grafted onto the side of existing towns and villages new housing estates and not actually looked at what additional infrastructure we require or what actually services are needed to service that. We are determined in relation to the South Warwickshire local plan that we won't be doing that. So any development that's going to be permitted which may have an effect on Stratford town will be evaluated to see exactly what that is. And we are obviously aware in relation to Stratford about certainly a shortage of secondary school places. We have enormous transport implications in relation to the town and servicing new development, and all of those matters will be addressed within the plan.
Thank you.
Question 2, Maurice Stokes. Could you please approach the table? Thank you. And do you have a supplementary question? Thank you. Would you like to turn the microphone on? You have 3 minutes.
Is that on?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, my name's Maurice Stokes. I'm a qualified Chartered Water Environmental Manager, member of the Chartered Institute of Water Environmental Managers and an incorporated engineer. I have been asked by the Bearley Wilmcote Group to review the flood risk for the proposed BW site of up to 10,000 homes. From the information available, I provide the following comments. In summary, this is an upper catchment area with a complex natural drainage process feeding into the River Orne and the River Avon via the Shottery Brook. The historic Stratford Canal and railway line manipulated the topography, existing drainage systems and watercourses, adding a further complexity. The chosen and installed mitigation measures were sized and limited for agricultural purposes only, and as for the surrounding areas to act as an artificial functioning floodplain. Any change of use to this sensitive area would have a serious impact on local and downstream flooding. The available Stratford Strategic Flood Risk Assessment and Environment Agency flood mapping do not include this major development and therefore should not be used to determine the flood risk of this site. The HELA Part A for Beeley-Wilmcote BW for flood risk RAG status green cannot be determined by the documentation and information available. Any flood mitigation cannot be considered suitable or sufficient or reliable due to the heavy clay soil geology of the area. All existing flood risk assessments mapping will need to be recommissioned, and many existing homes downstream would be subject to a new flood risk if this area is considered suitable for development. The Cunliffe Report, April 2025, the Pitt Report 2007, and the NPPF Guidance Section 14 clearly lays out specific all-source flood guidance and its impact to determine an area is considered suitable before development. Therefore, my question is, why has the Council chosen to bypass all due diligence and procedure and not instructed a specific Level 2 strategic flood risk assessment for the BW area to determine the flood impact before elevating it as a viable option?
Thank you, Mr Stokes. Councillor Coucher.
Clearly, obviously, any major development in the whole of Stratford district is going to have an effect on flooding. It's one of our issues. We clearly have got a series of rivers and streams and other water courses throughout the whole area, which is why we have, as been put in actually the written reply to this, we have done a flood assessment of all of the strategic growth locations and also the new settlements, and that will be part of the appraisal in terms of any decision in terms of which sites are eventually chosen for development.
Thank you, Councillor Coucher. And thank you, Mr Stokes. Speakers, we're more than happy for you to stay for the rest of the meeting if you wish to hear, but it's entirely up to you. Thank you. Item 8 on the agenda is minute 302 from the Cabinet meeting on the 3rd of November 2025 regarding scrutiny protocol. I invite Councillor Gist to introduce this report.
Thank you, Chair. I'm bending down so I reach the microphone. There is new government statutory guidance on overview and scrutiny committees, and it recommends that councils have a protocol in place to help define the relationship between the parties and mitigate any differences of opinion. So hence we have a scrutiny protocol before you today. I'd like to thank Cabinet and the members of Overview and Scrutiny Committee for their consideration of the protocol. And the recommendation is that the scrutiny protocol is adopted as amended to include the wording above, which is that the paper assessment will be made available to all members of the OSC after each meeting, described in paragraph 4.2. And the second part of the recommendation is that delegated authority be given to the monitoring officer to make any minor or legislative amendments to the protocol should the government's guidance change.
Thank you, Councillor Gist. I assume you are proposing this, and can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Crump.
Thank you, Councillor Rolfe. I'm happy to second this and reserve my right to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any members who wish to speak on this matter, please? No? In which case, Councillor Crump, would you like to follow up with your...
Very briefly, yes, we discussed this at scrutiny. Whole point of being scrutiny Effort and scrutiny has been open and transparent, so it would be hypocritical if we weren't open and transparent, putting ourselves available up front so people can see what we're doing. It's a fair paper. It puts things out in writing what we should be doing, and I've got no real issues with this after a healthy debate at OSC, and thank the monitoring officer for bringing the report and Councillor Gist for bringing the report forward. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a proposer and a seconder. Are we all agreed? Thank you. Item 9 on the agenda is minute 303 from the Cabinet meeting on the 3rd of November 2025 regarding the new prevent policy preventing terrorism. I invite Councillor Gist to introduce this report.
Sorry, Chair. Right, prevent policy. There is new Home Office prevent guidance, and this prevent policy addresses that and demonstrates Stratford-on-Avon District Council's compliance with the prevent duty as per Section 26 of the Counter-Terrorism and Security Act 2015, which I know you're all going to rush to now. Stratford-on-Avon District Council is a specified authority under the Act with responsibility to have due regard to the need to prevent people from being drawn into terrorism. This authority contributes to an officer who sits in the County Council's Community Safety Team, who coordinates prevent activity on behalf of the specified authorities in Warwickshire. Many members will have been on that prevent training, which is very, very useful. So I'm happy to propose the recommendation that the new prevent policy for Stratford-on-Avon District Council, to include a glossary of the relevant terms, be adopted, and that is attached as an appendix to the papers, and that delegated authority be given to the Head of Law and Governance and Monitoring Officer to make any minor or legislative amendments to the policy should the law or government's guidance change.
Thank you, Councillor Gist. I call for a seconder. Councillor Junod.
I do reserve my right to speak should anybody else speak in this debate.
Thank you. Are there any members who wish to speak on the matter? No? Well, we have a proposer and a seconder. Are we all agreed? Thank you. Item 10 on the agenda is minute 304 from the Cabinet meeting on the 3rd of November 2025 regarding enforcement policy. Over to you, Councillor Gist, to introduce this report.
Thank you, Chair. This is an updated enforcement policy to reflect changes in legislation, and it incorporates new statutory guidance. It's a strategic framework and it's tailored to individual service areas. I rather expect that members will be particularly interested in the planning enforcement policy, and this is going for an in-depth review at present, and the engagement with town and parish councils is ongoing. Once the review is concluded, the outcome will be reported back to Cabinet and Council. So I'm happy to propose the recommendation to Council, let's find it, that the updated enforcement policy as detailed in Appendix 1 to the Gender Report be approved, and that delegated authority be given to the Head of Law and Governance and Monitoring Officer to make any minor or legislative amendments to the policy should the law or government's guidance change.
Thank you, Councillor Gist. I call for a seconder. Councillor Jenny Fratchley.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to second this. May I say what I'm going to say now rather than actually reserving my right to speak? Okay, at the recent Regulatory Committee on December the 4th, there were quite a lot of discussions which didn't meet a full conclusion. And the committee members there decided it would be politic or the right thing to do to ask for an extraordinary meeting in the first week of January to actually sort out the issues that were raised there. So this policy actually is acceptable with the caveat that there is going to be an extraordinary meeting in January.
Thank you, Councillor Fratchley. Are there any members who wish to speak on the matter? Councillor Wally-Hoggins.
I think I speak for many councillors here that enforcement matters are always prominent at parish council meetings. And I think without talking too much about the regulatory meeting, last week, which was possibly one of the worst meetings I've ever attended at this council. I would like to say this: the contents of this policy document and whatever changes are agreed to it, contents of it and the agreements at the extraordinary meeting the first week in January, there has to be a really robust method of conveying the contents and the decisions that are made to our parish councils and our residents and to developers as well. It is vital that this is communicated, because otherwise councillors continue to be a conduit for dissatisfaction. All right. Now, I think this policy document before us goes a long way towards making matters much clearer, but it is for us now to communicate that through training, possibly to parish councils and so forth. So I leave that to you to decide how we then move that forward. And thank you for your comments earlier, Councillor Fradgley. Thank you.
Are there any other members who wish to speak? Councillor Coucher.
Thanks, Chair. I mean, I think the bulk of this policy can be approved today. I think clearly planning enforcement is still a matter which is a sore matter for many councillors, and I think the point that Councillor Wally Hoggins is making about communications is one of the key ones. So I really welcome the fact that Regulatory have asked for an additional meeting in January, and I hope we can progress matters and get planning enforcement onto a more satisfactory basis.
Thank you, Councillor Coucher. We have a proposer and a seconder. Are we all agreed? Thank you. It's agreed that the recommendations noted in the report are approved. Thank you. Item 11 on the agenda is Minute 305 from the Cabinet meeting on the 3rd of November 2025 regarding the Licensing Act 2003 Statement of Licensing Policy 2026 to 2031. I invite Councillor Grocott to introduce this report.
Thank you, Chair. I'm pleased to introduce the revised Statement of Licensing Policy for the period 2026 to 2031. As members will know, the Council is required under the Licensing Act 2003 to publish a licensing policy every 5 years, and our current policy is due to expire in January 2026. This review has been carried out in collaboration with our neighbouring Warwickshire authorities to ensure consistency and to reflect current licensing issues and best practice. The policy now includes a number of updates and clarifications, all of which were highlighted in the draft shared during the consultation. A full 12-week public stakeholder consultation has taken place. Only one response was received, identifying minor clerical issues and raising a helpful query on the definition of high-strength alcohol. Yes, these matters have been addressed, and the policy before you incorporates those amendments. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our officers for their thorough work reviewing the policy, coordinating the consultation, and ensuring the document remains robust, clear and up to date, and also to Cabinet and the Regulatory Committee for receiving this policy. So therefore, Chair, I'd like to recommend to the Council, or I'm happy to propose that the Council follows the recommendation in the report, which is that they recommended to Council that the Statement of Licensing Policy for the period of 2026 to 2031 be received and adopted. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grocott. I call for a seconder. Councillor Coles.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to second. Thank you.
Are you reserving your right to speak? Thank you. That's okay. Are there any members who wish to speak on the matter? Councillor Shenton.
Thank you, Chair. This particular policy isn't just a simple refresh. This is a wholesale rewrite of a major policy. It involves adding 41 new sections to it, which is not just obviously just about changing pronouns or whatever. It is more about the here and now, and not the as it was 5 years ago. As Councillor Grocott said, there's this has been agreed and discussed by the other Warwickshire district councils and Coventry City Council. So we know that we're all looking at the and using the same document, if you like. My thanks, I must say, have to go to Vicky Goodman and the licensing team for the amount of work they put into this. And as you probably gathered, as Councillor Grocott looked over at my way, I was that one person, unfortunately, that actually read the document and said, what do you mean by high-strength alcohol? So I was grateful to Vicky and the team for the clarification on that. It is, as I say, an important document because there are four licensing objectives: the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm, which obviously in an area like Stratford District is important as we rely heavily upon hospitality and the licensed trade. It covers some interesting additions. There are a number of, as I say, 41 of them, but it does cover drink spiking, violence against women and girls, and antisocial behaviour, all key messages and issues that we're dealing with now that maybe 5 years ago were not quite so prevalent. So this is why, in my opinion, it is an important document. It also talks about Ask Angela, and this isn't Angela Rippon, this is something that everyone should know about in pubs and clubs. Welfare and vulnerability, women's night safe chart, night safety
30
charter,
seconds.
safe to talk domestic violence, and Get Me Home Safely campaign. So, as I say, not a simple rewrite. I would recommend, possibly, can't say I'd recommend reading it. It's quite a weighty document, but I think every councillor should have a look at it because it does affect us as a district in a major way. So I am happy to support this. Obviously, I'm not the seconder, but I'm happy to support this, and I would ask all councillors to put their weight behind this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shenton. Councillor Wally-Hoggins.
Yes, I think this is an exceptional document and is testimony to the exceptional team that is licensing within this district. This policy goes a long way to helping us to just rejoice about this team, because it is clear that the team take this very seriously in the work they undertake, but it is really important in our tourist town because our residents and our visitors benefit from the work that this team do on a daily basis. And therefore, I just feel that we go a long way to making sure that the protections that are in place here and all of the new policies that are having to come forward within this means that Stratford-on-Avon will continue to be an exceptional place to live, work and visit. And I thank the team from my bottom of my heart for being so exceptional, and I always look forward to reading their documents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wally-Hoggins. Are there any other members that wish to speak on this item? Councillor Coles. Oh, sorry, before seconder, any other members? No? Councillor Coles. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know if this is something that's possible, but I would like to thank Councillor Shenton for his contribution. And as I jumped the gun, if you would prefer to go on record as a seconder, I'm more than happy to step back and allow you that. If not, for anything but the fact that you have obviously read it in depth several times over, from front to back, and probably, well, of course I have, but I don't think I can beat Councillor Shenton on this one. And I also point out that as you know, as the involvement into the investigation into what exactly constitutes high strength, I do feel sure if he did begin to propose a working group to fully examine this position, I feel sure you'd have plenty of volunteers. But as I say, I am more than happy to hand the seconding over to you if you would prefer. No? Okay, thank you.
So we have a proposer and a seconder. Are we all agreed? So it's agreed that the recommendations noted in the report are approved. Item 12 on the agenda is minute 340 from the Audit and Standards Committee meeting held on the 10th of November 2025 regarding the calendar of meetings. I invite Councillor Alcock to introduce this report as chair of the committee.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, as it says on the tin, it's approving the calendar of meetings. It is laid out, as you all know, it is never easy getting all the meetings that we require in. So I'd very much like to thank Democratic Services, all of you for the work you put into this. I know how difficult it is. So the recommendation, please, is that the calendar of meetings for 2026-27 to include an additional audit and standards committee date of Monday the 25th of January 2027 be agreed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Alcock. Can I call for a seconder on this?
Can I second the resolution, please, and reserve my right to speak?
Thank you. Are there any members who wish to speak on the matter? No? Well, we are doing well, councillors, aren't we? Or is that too early to say? We have a proposer and a seconder. Are we all agreed? Thank you. Agreed that the recommendations noted in the report are approved. Item 13, minute 374, Task and Finish Group, privately managed public open spaces, flood alleviation schemes and estate roads. I invite Councillor Crump to introduce this report as chair of this committee.
Oh, thanks for that, Councillor Roth, sorry. That's completely forgot your name, Chair. I do apologise. I don't know how I can forget you of all people.
Rolf.
I do apologise.
That younger one that you referred to earlier on outside the coffee machine.
Been, yeah, must have been.
Okay.
And for the public record, this is only coffee, honestly. So I do apologise. Yes, this is come through the Task and Finish Group through over in scrutiny, an area that lots of residents have had many problems with and feel it's right and proper for us to be looking at in the best ways we can help resolve them. Under the chairship of Councillor Johnston, this is taking slightly longer than the original timescale than originally envisaged, and I won't say I told you so, but I might say I told you so. But saying that, if it's worth doing properly, let's get it right first time and come back. So an interim report, happy to propose this and thank everybody for all involved in this. And like I say, we sometimes do have to be mindful of timescales and pressure on officers as well, because obviously they've got a lot on, and they've had a lot on with the South Warwickshire Local Plan, local government, LGR, etc. So we do have to be mindful. So no criticism of officers in that whatsoever. The only criticism is of myself for getting your name, Councillor Rolfe, so I do apologise once again. Thank you.
That's fine. I had a note here to say that Councillor Crump will say that he told you so. Anyway. May I invite a seconder, please?
Could I second the motion and reserve my right to speak?
Thank you very much. Are there any members who wish to speak on the matter? Oh, Councillor Johnson, if there are no other members, you're seconding it, please do second it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The remit of the Task and Finish Group was set by the Council, so we have to come back to the Council to amend it, which is why it's here today. The terms of the remit included, and I quote, engaging with and taking evidence from any established resident groups on the developments affected. Though there are some established groups, it was suggested that a more effective approach would be to survey residents and parish councils and to gain their experience. This would provide grounded evidence to assist both our own recommendations and to assist our MPs when the government consults on the implementation of the recommendation of the Competition and Markets Authority to both regulate standards for public open space and to set common standards. So an extension of time will enable the group to consider those findings and to consult further with residents' groups. I would endorse the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Johnston. We have a proposer and seconder. Are we all agreed? Thank you. Agreed that the recommendations noted in the report are approved. Item 14 on the agenda is minute 380 from the Cabinet meeting on the 1st of December 2025 regarding the response to notice of motion, funding of neighbourhood development plans for parishes of Stratford-on-Avon District Council to replace withdrawn central government financial support, financial year 2026-2027. I invite Councillor Coucher to introduce this report.
Thank you, Chair. We obviously are, as we've already mentioned already today, in a very changing situation with regard to planning, in that we are producing a South Warwickshire local plan, and indeed many parishes may wish to update their neighbourhood plans. Therefore, we need to make sure that we are making adequate provision for that going forward. It's likely that in the financial year, which is starting obviously in April, parishes may start to amend their plans, perhaps at the end of 26, when the South Warwickshire local plan becomes more apparent. And so therefore, because there is a funding gap, because central government have withdrawn their support for producing such plans, it will be incumbent on this authority to find some resources to close that gap. And indeed, we are all, I think, in the process of putting together budgets for 26-27, and I'm sure that this is going to be a leading item. So this notice of motion came along at an appropriate point in time when I think all groups were beginning to think in terms of their budget for next year, and so therefore we're able to support this because I'm certain that this administration certainly will be putting in a financial provision to help parishes with their neighbourhood plans. I therefore propose that it's considered as part of the Council's budget setting process for 26-27, and the notice of motion is supported.
Thank you, Councillor Coucher. I call for a seconder.
I'm happy to second and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. Are there any members who wish to speak on the matter? Councillor Littlewood.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to Councillor Coucher for those introductory words. This is indeed a very important proposal and policy for parish councils. Many of the parish councils that have got an NDP already in place are those original plans are now very time limited. You councillors will be aware that 5 years is the longevity for full force in any planning consideration. With the majority of NDPs being somewhat older than that, this becomes a very serious point. This is not a cheap exercise for parish councils. They have to pay for it. The government has decided at the same time as increasing the demand on rural parishes to increase our housing stock, that they will take away the means of defending the way of life and the localism of our communities. We all, I think, in this chamber agree with those statements. So I'm very pleased that the Council has proposed this, and indeed proposing supporting it, this Conservative-led proposal. But I do believe, and I agree with Councillor Coucher, that this was a motion that would fit everybody's consideration, and agree that to support our parishes going forward at a very, very difficult time when demands on greenfield sites indeed are growing. We need to support them to protect the rural nature of our district council area.
Thank you, Councillor Littlewood. Councillor Parry.
Thank you, Chair. I was particularly pleased to second this motion from the Conservatives. Speaking personally, I was extremely involved in the development of the Wellesbourne and Walton neighbourhood development plan and handled all the research and analysis of all the surveys that were undertaken. I also, within my ward of Wellesbourne North and Rural, represent the village of Lighthorn, and certainly Lighthorn are planning to produce another neighbourhood development or a new neighbourhood development plan, which is particularly critical being so adjacent to the Gaydon Lighthorn Heath development. So this is extremely important from a budgetary point of view, particularly for those parish councils that are really quite small and don't have the significant precept to take this forward. So I commend this to everybody and very pleased to support it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Parry. Any further? Councillor Wally-Hoggins.
Yes, I'd like to thank everyone responsible for bringing this notice of motion forward. But I would ask that we do check a little bit as to the financial situation of parish councils before we award the money involved in this. Is £250,000, I think, proposed here, because some parish councils, as we know, have quite a lot in reserves, whilst others, due to the size of the parish councils or have parish meetings, have a much reduced amount of money at the bank. And I do think that that needs to be considered, really. I'm not asking for match funding, I'm just asking that we look at some of the money that's held on balance by those parishes to make this equitable and fair, because it's, as Councillor Parry has said, these are, for some parish councils, the very reason that they haven't already done this is because they simply cannot afford to pay for anything towards getting these plans written. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wally-Hoggins. Any further comments from members? Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to add a comment based upon Councillor Wally-Hoggins' statement, just that in reviewing parish councils' finances, I think it's really important to ensure that due weight is given to the SIL money that is sitting in their accounts, because that money is not meant to pay for revenue items. That is meant to compensate for development that's already taken place. So I'm sure that Councillor Coucher, when he does his review with officers, will ensure that a fair view is taken of the state of finances of individual parish councils. What appears to be on the surface a large amount of money may not be available for NDPs. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey. Any further comments, councillors? Okay, well, we have a proposer and a seconder. Are we all agreed? Oh, I do apologise, Councillor Juliet.
As seconder, I was happy to write a column on this one in early November, which is the Herald column, but which is also on the front page of the District Council, pointing out that about the importance of NDPs, because not only did the 2011 Localism Act give valuable right for the community, it actually laid a duty on the District Council to make sure that that people are involved in supporting local neighbourhood planning. And the reason why that's so important is because of the local knowledge that's often available within communities about what is important in their communities. I was a member of the Ulster NDP group that put together the NDP originally for Ulster. And I was able to contribute my knowledge and all my records of all the flooding that had occurred in Ulster since 1998, for example. So I think the role of a district council is to ensure and encourage that kind of involvement and make sure that residents have a say in their community. It is important that residents are able to take place. But can I point out that across the country, it's not only about a matter of the money that the government gave to an organisation called Locality, which helps communities with their neighbourhood development plans. But there's also there is also, across the country, some very, very good templates that are available and best practice guides in councils across the country. And they also can learn from the considerable good work that Locality did. So all that work is there. And one of the things that I put in the column was we should gather all that together, that best practice, that experience together, to make sure that as we go forward with an item in the budget, that we should also utilise all the best practice that's available across the country in supporting neighbourhood development. As we know, participatory engagement with clear communication and feedback channels is very, very important indeed. And that's why I'm supporting and seconding this particular item to go forward during the debate on the budget.
Thank you, Councillor Junod, and once again, apologies I didn't bring you in. So we do have a proposer and seconder. Are we all agreed? Thank you. It's agreed that the recommendations noted in the report are approved. Item 15 on the agenda is minute 381 from the Cabinet meeting on the 1st of December 2025 regarding the response to notice of motion to support the reallocation of some new housing from Stratford-on-Avon district to Coventry. I invite Councillor Coucher to introduce this report.
We are all aware that this government has set out a determination to build 1.5 million houses across the country during this time, this Parliament. And clearly, a significant portion of that has fallen on Stratford district. So it is, in many respects, tempting to think, can we shift some of that housing allocation that's come to us over the border, and in this case, in relation to Coventry. The notice of motion really is flawed in two respects. One is clearly in relation to the duty to cooperate. We would need to prove that, frankly, it was impossible to accommodate whatever our standard numbers are for this district, and I think that's extremely difficult for us to do. Secondly, Coventry are in fact in advance of us in preparing its local plan. It's actually at Regulation 19 stage. I believe there's been no discussions with Coventry at all, and I'm almost certain that Coventry would say, well, thanks, but no thanks. It doesn't actually fit with our timescale. So really, as a notice of motion, it really doesn't work at all. I have to say, when this government changed the standard numbers and up our standard numbers, obviously we were very concerned about that because obviously that puts more pressure on us, but it did relieve us on one respect, because before the upping of the standard numbers, we were likely to have to take housing from Coventry. And as a result of the change in those numbers, Coventry are able to deal with their own housing requirements themselves, and we don't have a duty to cooperate. I have to say I wish that was the case with other metropolitan boroughs who we are still grappling and negotiating with at the moment in relation to potentially having to take housing from other areas. This notice of motion, frankly, doesn't work. It doesn't help us going forward, and therefore it is recommended that we do not support this notice of motion, and that is what I propose.
May I call for a seconder, please? Councillor Rice. Are there any...
Yep, I should like to second and reserve my right to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any members who wish to speak on this matter? Councillor Wally-Hoggins, followed by Councillor Passingham.
The Green Party has recently enjoyed a surprising resurgence and in prominence. Whilst their immigration policies are well documented, this motion before us reveals a troubling contradiction. Local Green Party members appear perfectly comfortable with their party's open-door approach to immigration, an approach that promises every newcomer to the UK the right to be housed in their own home. Yet, when faced with the practical consequences of these policies, the same supporters seem deeply uneasy. At the heart of this proposal lies a classic case of not in my backyard. This motion is a textbook example of NIMBYism, cloaked in the language of principle, but driven by self-interest. Could it be that this motion is yet another example of Greens who, when they are actually elected to positions of responsibility, are incapable of reconciling their lofty, allegedly progressive principles with the practicalities of everyday politics and popular accountability? This is politicking at its absolute worst. The proposers of this motion are either dangerously naive or deliberately misleading the public. Is this truly about a viable option or just a desperate attempt to pacify disgruntled residents in their wards? The Green Party cannot even grasp the simplest truth. More people means more homes, yet they push an agenda that ignores reality and jeopardises our communities. This motion is an outrageous display of NIMBYism, and let's be clear, the electorate now paying the price for the Lib Dems losing control of the 5-year housing land supply must take a hard look at the left-wing policies they
Point
endorsed.
of clarification, please. Chair.
Councillor Alcock.
Can I just raise a point of clarification that the Liberal Democrats did not lose the control of the 5-year housing supply? It was changed nationally by the government that are in power at the moment and has actually affected over 60% of councils, including those run by Reform. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor
I
Alcock.
retract that statement, therefore. These choices will cost, the choices made will cost the district clearly. The consequences are real and they are coming fast. So, Councillors Passingham, Hatch and all the other Green councillors, I ask you, where exactly should all the people your Green Party plans to welcome live, if not in your local area? Ah, yes, your solution is to send them to Coventry. That is shameful. Out of sight and out of mind, your proposal exposes a party incapable of reconciling its harmful ideology with the practical realities of protecting our rural communities. Enough of the virtue signalling and NIMBYism. This motion is nothing more than hypocrisy wrapped in green paper. If you can't stand by the consequences of your own ideology, then step aside and let real leaders protect our communities.
Thank you, Councillor Wally Hoggins. Councillor Passingham.
Right. Can I say there are lots of inaccuracies in what's just been said, one of which is that in our policies in a perfect world, we would like open borders, but we are not in a perfect world. There are lots of issues worldwide in terms of immigration and refugees and so on. And we need a managed immigration policy. Right. So the second point to make is, what are we going to do to provide services to our hospitals and our harvest food, care homes, and all the rest of it? That most of the immigration that's coming in is on work visas. So and all those poor people that are refugees, what are we going to do with them? Turn them away like the Jews were in the war? I don't know what the suggestions there are. But anyway, getting back to the point.
Okay.
We've had our housing allocations doubled last year, while Coventry's was halved. And we think doubling the housing here will put an unbearable strain on many towns and communities and villages throughout our district. Of course, we need to have more housing, and we need to accommodate people who are working in care homes and working in hospitals and everything else. Otherwise, what will happen to us all when we retire? But that doesn't destroy any of the arguments about not having so much housing dumped on us. And I mean, there'll be an awful lot of housing anyway, even if Coventry were to take back 4,000 houses over the next 25 years. Mark Sullivan, who is from Warwickshire Campaign for the Protection of Rural... Oh, blimey, rural England has made... I haven't started yet. Can I have an extension, or can I say something at the end? Anyway, I'll read out his statement. The housing land supply surplus on urban land in Coventry is given by the City's Council, published local plan at 2,000 homes. But detailed work has submitted to Coventry City Council saying
Could
that
you
they
please
could
wind
in
up?
fact have 8,000 homes on brownfield and urban sites there where it's needed to regenerate Coventry.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Passingham. Councillor Crump, please.
Thank you, Councillor Rolfe. Hopefully I'll try and stick to the notice of motion that actually refers to Stratford District and Coventry. I was a Coventry City fan. I've often been sent to Coventry, but seems like we can't send houses there. And I think Councillor Couch will actually be surprised. I'm actually supporting him on this on a couple of points. We revised at scrutiny that neighbouring authorities could only be approached to take on additional houses if there was evidence that Stratford-on-Avon could not meet its own need. Well, I've not read anything that we can't meet our own need. Yes, it's causing us issues, but there's nothing that's categorically says we can't meet our own need. Secondly, obviously there's our complications regarding the housing market area. With Stratford not only being both in the Greater Birmingham and also the Coventry and Warwickshire areas, whilst Coventry was only in the Coventry and Warwickshire area. So whatever happens, we still have this duty to cooperate. And I think if this motion had come forward and was shifted to call for the effective prioritisation of brownfield sites and limit greenfield development across the greater local area, I think it would have had more traction. But what we're seeing at the moment is we don't want them. Who can have them? Oh, go on. Yeah, your numbers are less than ours, so you can have a few of ours. So this isn't the way forward. I think we need to stick to facts, stick to the notice of motion, and let's work at the best ways of doing this. Like I say, if we'd have talked about the effective prioritisation of brownfield sites and potentially limiting greenfield development across the local area, I'm sure it will have got more support. So hopefully I've got within my 3 minutes. So thank you, Councillor Rolfe, and the rest of the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Crump. Can I ask, before anyone else speaks, that we keep to the subject of the notice of motion, please? The next speaker is Councillor Parker.
Thank you very much, Chair. I just wanted to bring a little bit of clarity to this to this motion, because it did go a little bit off topic. The motion is brought forward because there is, in the hierarchy of where we should be developing, given in the MPPF, it states at the top of this hierarchy is brownfield land, and Coventry has a significant amount of brownfield land as given in their Reg 19 submission. And so this motion was a means of trying to get this council to consider how that might be used. And I would point to the fact that, and Councillor Crump makes a perfectly reasonable point, and that is a point which stands for today, but we live in fast changing times and we need to be at least one step ahead of the game. This government will fall at some stage, new policies will come forward, and there is brownfield land in Coventry. We're at the moment proposing massive development, some of it in the green belt, and we should do this always with a mind to thinking, what else can we do? And lastly, I'll just finish on the fact that, of course, our MP has written a letter to the Secretary of State on this very subject, trying to do this very same thing. So, it sounds like it's out of tune or out of phase, and I would say it isn't. It sounds like it's NIMBYism. It isn't. And there's nothing wrong with living in Coventry. I happen to have done it myself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Parker. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Chair. And a very quick aside, thank you to everyone who said hello to me on what feels like my first day of school. So I'd like to follow on from Councillor Wally Hoggins's points. You know, the residents of Salford Priors and Ulster Rural are deeply, deeply concerned about development and overdevelopment. You know, some of the lovely villages that I'm lucky enough to be representing are known as the Shakespeare villages, and, you know, it really is something that people mention frequently. The Council is right to emphasise the seriousness of what's at stake. You know, this isn't a political game, this is people's environments, it's where they live, it's their homes. It's not simply enough to move pieces around the board. We need fundamental change that addresses the root causes of extreme development. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Chairman. My regret is that the officers have spent time on this motion at all. The motion was flawed from the beginning. A simple, quick telephone call to Coventry Council to say, would you like some of our houses, and where are you with your plans, would have established the facts and would have revealed what this motion really is. It's a waste of time. I'm really sorry that officers have had to spend as much time as they have trying to deal with a motion which proposes something which was impracticable from the kick-off. So you have my sympathies.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey. Councillor Junod.
It was just a matter of clarification that Coventry City Council has already submitted their plan for examination. So the timing, had the motion come forward a year ago, that might have been something that could have been dealt with, but it had already been submitted for examination. Therefore, it cannot be dealt with under the duty to cooperate and any other issues to do with local plan. Just to mention, you know, some of the earlier comments. I note that Tom Stoppard died recently. He was an immigrant.
Thank you, Councillor Junod. Are there any members that wish to comment further? In which case, I'd like to go to the seconder, Councillor Mike Rice.
Thank you, Chair. I don't really have anything more to add to what's already been said, other than I do have sympathy for this motion because clearly it is better to develop brownfield sites than greenfield sites. But I think the practicality of the motion has been already been discussed, so I have nothing further to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rice. So the recommendation to Council that for the reasons set out in the agenda report, the notice of motion is not supported. Do I have an agreement with that, please? Are there any against? Thank you very much. Moving on now to item 16 on the agenda is the minute 382 from the Cabinet meeting on the 1st of December 2025 regarding the response to notice of motion, transfer of public open spaces to private owners. I invite Councillor Coucher to introduce this report.
Chair, this is an issue that's really been a major one which we've considered as a council throughout the whole of this this term of this council. One of our first actions that we took when we took control was to actually produce a new policy for the council, which basically says that there is a preferred arrangement whereby that public open space and other facilities are adopted by the appropriate authority, and that we do not set up management companies to deal with them. Management companies should only be used in the most exceptional circumstances. Obviously, that is dealing with new developments going forward. And I have to say, we as a council are struggling a little with that policy at the moment. And I certainly would publicly call on, obviously, our officers. We've got to negotiate hard, and we've got to work very closely with our town and parish councils in particular. I'm also concerned about the County Council's policy in relation to roads as well, where we may well have a whole series of cul-de-sacs actually within the district, which may not be a problem to start off with, but will be a problem in 20 years' time for people that are in those areas. And we also have issues in relation to suds and drainage, where it's clearly not clear. We thought that we were going to get government guidance in relation to what was going to happen to those, that the County Council was going to take on the responsibility for suds. That hasn't happened, and I am deeply concerned about the setting up of suds, which frankly there is no maintenance commitment either by existing developers or other people. So we have a whole series of problems there. We have obviously our task and finish group, which is set up to deal with the existing management company arrangements that we have, and that we have already had a report on that already today. This notice of motion, I think, was to give further clarity to the work which both the task and finish group has been doing, and also in terms of giving us guidance in relation to where we go for the future.
30 seconds. And
therefore that is welcomed. And the recommendation that the Cabinet proposed is that the criterion 1, 2 and 4 of the notice of motion be added to the terms of reference of the task of the transfer of public open spaces to private owners task and finish group, and the group report back on these issues in early 2026, and Councillor Johnson, I think, has given those assurances in relation to timescale. 2, that as detailed in section 1.2 of the agenda report, criteria 3 confirmed is already satisfied, and that just needs to be noted. And 3, that the notice of motion be supported as detailed in recommendations 1 and 2, and I propose that. Thank you.
That'll do. Thank you, Councillor Coucher. May I call for a seconder, please? Councillor Petrovich.
Thank you, Chair. I'm pleased to second this motion, and also I reserve my right to speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any members who wish to comment? Councillor Pemberton.
Thank you, Chair. We have 2 lights, Chair. I think you... just in case. So, as with Councillor Petrovich, the proposer and seconder of the original motion, I think we are both glad to see that the Cabinet has accepted that the scope of the task and finish group's work be expanded to what was originally intended. I think we both understand there was some caution about mission creep at the initial bringing forward of the motion, but Councillor Petrovich and I were clear that those 3 additional areas did need to be part and parcel of the work in order to come to a rounded solution. So I'm glad that the Cabinet has seen that there is benefit in that, and that will undoubtedly help the second stage of the work to get to a place where we're in a better position in relation to the management of public open space and other assets by private management companies, and ultimately to try and provide some kind of toolkit to residents and groups who have to deal with these organisations unless or until central government change the law again. So I absolutely welcome this. I would make a final observation that this was brought forward as a cross-party motion. This is a matter that has been identified across this chamber as something that needs to be looked at. And I would gently remind the portfolio holder that work on Part L was already part of the work that was in train. And so prior to this administration, and might observe that perhaps particularly at Christmas time, when it is a goodwill to all men, etc., etc., that when we're all on the same page, that perhaps there's not that much benefit in suggesting looking for areas of difference when we're trying to work together on a particular issue. And with that, I wish Councillor Coucher a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Councillor Pemberton. Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm fully in support of this particular recommendation, but I'd like to take this opportunity to place on record my thanks for the work of Alison Willers of the enforcement staff, for the work she's been doing, particularly in relation to Treddington. So I offer my thanks on behalf of Treddington Parish Council, but also of the Averis Way Tenants Association, who have been experiencing difficulties with a management company, and Alison has been doing her level best to sort matters out. This is the sort of work which we shouldn't have to do on the basis that this motion, this recommendation is accepted and acted upon. We might even save some money on Alison's salary, although she has many talents. I'm sure she's got a long future with the council. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey. Councillor Wally Hoggins.
I think the work to reduce the use of private management companies is possibly one of the greatest legacy that this council will have for our residents long term. I applaud the work that's been done so far, and I thank everybody concerned, officers and councillors who are working hard together to ensure that the scourge of private management companies and their land ownership is brought to an end within this district. And it is my most sincere hope that other councils, regardless of party orientation, will look at the work that we've done and the papers that we're bringing forward in order to have that rolled out across this great country of ours. So thank you to everybody concerned. I applaud you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wally Hoggins. Any further comments from members? Oh, sorry, Councillor Junod.
Yes, I wonder whether we could also ask officers a longer term, because the Competition Market Authority has taken this up as a national issue, and I know that it's going through Parliament and there will be legislative changes. The changes that occurred to allow private management companies mainly occurred in the 90s, and this council, the policy was changed in 2005 to allow and encourage and support private management companies to take on land. But it is the Competition Market Authority that has raised the issues nationally, and we do need to know what the timetable is of that, and also the judgment that comes from government, because some of the issues cannot be addressed by this district council. They have to be addressed retrospectively by government as to how to address some of the historical occurrences that occurred in this district between 2005 and when this first was raised in about 2019. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Junod. Any further comments? May I go to the seconder of this, Councillor Petrovich, please?
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I am very pleased to see that there is so much support for this motion, and I think this is actually one of the first discoveries that the Task and Finish group, when it was established back in August, came with, and it was very important to actually bring it to the full council because of the severity that this practice has on our residents and on our public open spaces across the district. So I'm very pleased that the Cabinet has commended this motion, and that is going to be now included in the remit of the Task and Finish group. Obviously, as a Task and Finish group, we have, and as a district, as Councillor Junod also pointed out, have limited remit. However, based on some of the best practice from across the country in terms of the guidance and toolkits that have been developed, there are also templates that we can look into and use to make sure that our residents, as well as parishes and town councils, are best supported to prevent this practice from happening. And finally, I think it is also really important to know that as we finish the work of the Task and Finish group, there are things within our Part L, which has been mentioned in this report, that is very good, but there are things that we could also potentially look at strengthening. So it is important to keep all of the options open, and I'm very much looking forward to working on finishing the work and bringing the final report to OSC and the full council. Thank you. So I would vote in favour of this, and hopefully everyone will support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Petrovic. We have a proposer and a seconder. Are we all agreed? Thank you. It's agreed that the recommendations noted in the report are approved. Item 17 on the agenda is minute 383 from the Cabinet meeting on the 1st of December 2025 regarding the adoption of the Infrastructure Funding Statement 2024-2025. I invite Councillor Coucher to introduce this report.
My last one, you'll be pleased to know. We have a duty every year to produce a infrastructure statement, and today we're asked to approve the statement that's been prepared for 24-25. There are some changes in the statement to how it's been previously because of the new way in which we are administering SIL money and making sure that that is more related to developments and that actually we get a good spread of schemes across the district. So I don't think I will do any more to introduce the statement. I'm sure everyone will have looked at it to see how it affects their particular ward. All I will do is move the recommendation that the infrastructure funding statement for 24-25 as set out in Appendix 1 to the agenda report pack be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Coucher. I call for a seconder. Councillor Brown.
Yes, I'm happy to second that and reserve my right to speak later.
Are there any members that wish to comment on this? No? Councillor Brown, a seconder, if you'd like to speak. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm not going to say very much. I started my career as a statistician. I then became an intelligence officer, and my view on information changed radically. Now I'm a councillor. I've got a view on information again, which is about transparency. So I can't see any reason why we should not have transparent information and as much of it as possible. So I would say that I recommend this and second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. We have a proposer and a seconder. Are we all agreed? Thank you. Agreed that the recommendations noted in the report are approved. We are whizzing through this. Oh, is that an M25 moment? It probably is, isn't it? Item 18 on the agenda is minute 384 from the Cabinet meeting on the 1st of December 2025 regarding the generative artificial intelligence policy for Stratford-on-Avon District Council. I invite Councillor Gist to introduce this report.
Thank you, Chair. As I said at Cabinet, this is a very fast-moving area, so I almost expect this to be out of date by the time I sit back down. I would encourage all members to read this policy so they are clear on the detail of it because it applies to everybody's work within the Council. Schedule 2 shows the list of AI-approved tools, and I want to say it's imperative that we protect Stratford District Council and our residents' data and confidentiality. I just need to find the recommendation. Thank you, David. Thank you, Councillor Curtis. So it is recommended to Council that the artificial intelligence policy at Appendix 1 to the agenda report be approved and adopted.
I invite a seconder to this. Councillor Ballinger.
I'd like to second this, Chair, and reserve my right to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any comments from members, please, on this? Councillor Pemberton.
Thank you, Chair. I would just like to observe that that gag went better here than it did at Cabinet, so I congratulate Councillor Gist on her delivery today.
Thank you, Councillor Pemberton. Councillor Petrovic, please.
Thank you, Chair. Again, I'm very pleased to see this policy being brought in front of us today. As someone who uses AI in her personal and professional life, I think it has many benefits and also obviously comes with risk, recognising that. So having clarity on what we as councillors and also as a council can use and how is really important. I think also what would be really helpful kind of moving forward with this policy now in place to have additional training. For those of us who are of a younger generation, we kind of grew up or are growing up with now AI. For those of us who maybe need some more training and support, I think it is really imperative that we provide that additional support to maximize the use of the AI tools and also to prevent any risks that might come with increased usage of it. So with that being said, I do obviously support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Petrovic. Are there any members who wish to speak? Councillor Jones.
Thanks, Chair. A note to say I'm really impressed that we're so forward-thinking, that we're sort of dealing with this and documenting it and coming up with policies that we can all be using in this really sort of cutting-edge area. Bit of a sort of practical word of warning. In my day job, I occasionally sort of sell artificial intelligence assessment tools and things like that. And I would say to any councillors who are thinking about using AI to do any of your sort of research on queries or trying to advise residents, be so careful about what's called hallucinations. So AI can effectively fabricate information that's not true. And a practical story is that a client of mine didn't turn up to a meeting last week because they'd used AI to research whether or not they needed an appropriate visa for the meeting venue. It told them they didn't. In fact, they did. So let's hope that none of us fall down any sort of pitfalls with respect to responding to any of our residents' queries. So an amazing tool, really impressive that as a group we're using it. Let's be really careful as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Any further comments, please, from members? So may I invite Councillor Ballinger, please, to second this.
Thank you, Chair. Similarly, I use AI in my professional life as well outside of the council. So I know how fast-moving and fast-paced AI is going. In terms of the policy, it's very clearly states the purpose of the policy. And I haven't really got anything more to say other than I support this and I agree with what other councillors have said. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ballinger. We have a proposer and a second. Are we all agreed? Fabulous. Agreed that the recommendations noted in the report are approved. Item 19, minute on the agenda is minute 385 from the Cabinet meeting on the 1st of December 2025 regarding the response to notice of motion, hospital access and information. I invite Councillor Coles to introduce this report.
Thank you, Chair. The recommendation to Council is in respect of hospital transport and information be supported motion, and in doing so, a summit of key partners be convened to discuss existing hospital transport arrangements, identify gaps and consider potential solutions. I would like to thank Councillor Rock and Councillor Hencher-Seraphim for bringing the notice of motion. It certainly fits with some work that we have been doing already in terms of addressing the extremely complicated patterns that we have between patients living here and their appointments being there or their hospitals being there. And so there is a huge advantage into bringing all those involved with this together to sit down and work out how we provide better information to residents needing transport advice, and also looking at where the gaps are and maybe looking at how we can address these issues and gaps and provide, or at least worked with others to provide solutions towards that. In the original Cabinet papers, there is an extremely interesting report from VASA which lays out exactly what paths of journeys residents are taking from their homes and which bit of the district to which bit of hospital where, and I think it could best be presented probably in 3D and probably a perhaps task for the artificial intelligence with its ever-moving things, and then we will run away before it tries to organise it for us. But I do recommend this recommendation. I hope that you will feel able to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coles. Do I have a seconder to this? Councillor Alcock.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm very pleased to second this, Councillor Coles. I will speak now, if that's all right, Chair. I have a statement that Councillor Rock has asked me to read out today. Firstly, I'd like to thank the Cabinet Member and officers for the recommendation to support this motion and the initiative to bring all the parties together and bring about improvements. As the report discusses, this issue is one that involves multiple agencies, and getting those parties together is what is needed. It was news to me that a travel assistant had been created and included on the hospital's website. I do wonder when this was done, but this is an excellent step. This is an effect journey planner showing all potential options of travel to link with appointments. What is interesting to note is that recent appointment letters, of which Councillor apparently had far too many, they make no mention of this recently acquired travel assistant journey planner system, merely pointing out how difficult it will be for parking. I hope an early outcome is ensuring a suitable link is going to be put in appointment letters. I have tested the travel app assistant and it seems to work well on the basis of those limited examples I have so far tried. It does show up a lack of travel options in the rural areas and possibly a need for more guidance on other options such as the Indie bus. We have to be aware that not everyone is e-enabled, and I think about that. An area where the summit may make a real difference in community cohesion, in people's lives and experience, is voluntary transport. VASA clearly does a good job, but the numbers show that the east of the district has quite a different dynamic, as it does in a number of matters. I know in the east of the district there's a number of different voluntary driver schemes, funded and assessed in different ways. I would pay particular tribute to Harbury e-wheels and the Southern Voluntary Driver Scheme, which extend to rural villages in my ward. Some schemes are struggling for drivers. On the basis of suspicion rather than data, there may be both potential drivers and demand out there for a coherent and coordinated publicity scheme might work to the benefit of all. I hope we can pull that together. Thank you. The words of Councillor Rock. Thank you for sending that to me. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Alcock, and thank you, Councillor Rock. Are there any members who wish to comment? Councillor Wally-Hoggins.
Yes, the rural districts that I represent, rural villages and areas that I represent, don't necessarily use the Warwick hospitals. They are travelling to, their pathway is via Morton-in-Marsh and then over to Cheltenham and to the Gloucester hospitals. And conversely, those in the further south, and I won't be the only councillor here that this affects, will also travel to Banbury and then on from Oxford there. So I think we do need to be specific with how we're trying to help the residents. This is just residents that are accessing, I believe, the Warwick pathway, as we refer to it. On a personal note, I don't think the car park is fit for purpose at Warwick Hospital currently. It's caused me and my father a great deal of distress trying to get there for appointments. The very last time that we attended the hospital, I had to climb into my car through the boot in order to exit the car park. It is a good job that I'm as able-bodied as I am, all right, but it is when you're feeling dread about attending a hospital appointment anyway. I hope you're not casting dispersions on my ability to do that, Councillor Curtis. Anyway, sadly it wasn't captured on camera, otherwise I'm quite sure it would have had a massive number of hits on YouTube. But safe to say, it's not adequate, it's not fair, and anything that we can do to address this issue needs to be done so. But this is only for those residents who are accessing through the Warwick pathway and nowhere else. So there is a limit to the scope of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wally-Hoggins. Councillor Harvey, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm in support of this motion, in support of this recommendation, so don't misunderstand me. And I do pay tribute to Councillors Rock and Henchy-Seraphin for bringing it forward. My concern, and this is a question particularly for Councillor Cole, if I've got her attention.
Please, councillors, please, can we not have conversations whilst...
Right, I do beg your pardon for not listening. I was just pointing out this list, which I'm sure Councillor Wally-Hoggins will be very pleased to see, covers an enormous range of hospitals. It is not confined to Warwick Hospital. It's certainly, we've taken on already the enormous range of locations and residents that have to be considered. Councillor Harvey, I do apologise. Could I ask you to say it again?
Apologies accepted. My concern is that despite the good work of Councillors Rock and Hencher-Seraphin, this is an initiative which seems to be being taken by the District Council when the transport responsibility lies with the County Council. Now, I understand from the previous papers that the County Council is prepared to participate in the summit, but I do wonder whether the fact that they're not protecting their own interests and taking the initiative themselves in relation to a transport issue, whether that's a signal that whatever comes out of this discussion at the summit, actually they aren't particularly strongly in favour of. So I just wonder whether you can provide any reassurance about the good faith of Warwickshire County Council in, on the one hand, not taking the initiative, but on the other hand, participating in the summit. Thank you.
Councillor Coles, if you wish to respond.
Thank you, Chair. I can't obviously speak for the County Council, but I'm sure many of you who've been stuck in a room with me for any length of time do feel that they have been persuaded into things they haven't necessarily entered the room to agree with me, and I will certainly be hoping to have these sensible conversations and hopefully converse with them about the need to have a joined up solution and that it does indeed come under their remit. As I say, I've not had these conversations yet, but I'm more than prepared to do so. Thank you.
Councillor Crump.
Thank you, Chair. Would it be possible for the portfolio holder to report back the conversations from the summit after the meeting to all councillors via email even? Thank you.
Yes, I am more than prepared to report back, and I might have to edit it a tad, but yes, definitely the gist of it will be reported to everyone.
Thank you. Are there any further comments from members on this? In which case we have a proposer and a seconder. Are we all agreed? We agreed that the recommendations noted in the report are approved. Now, councillors, would you mind if I call for a 5-7 minute comfort break, please? Is that okay with everyone? Is anyone not okay with that? In which case, can we come back just before 1:45? Thank you. Thank you. Item 20 on the agenda are councillors' questions. We have 2 questions, both from Councillor Keithley. I will take them separately. Councillor Keithley, do you have a supplementary question? You have 3 minutes.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I do. First of all, I think I've got 3 minutes on each question. Excellent. The first thing is
timing you now.
I wanted to say, in respect of the health screening, to thank Councillor Coles for the answer to my question. That was the first thing. I think what I would say, you know it's quite close to my heart, this. We can understand why the BFG is a sellout at the theatre, but to think that our PSA screening it was a sellout as well, I think it was quite a surprise. And it begs the question as to why it was a sellout. I was at 6 of those 7 events, and I asked a lot of people that came through the door about why they'd come. I think there's a raising awareness of the issues with prostate cancer in men. Our events on a Saturday morning are very convenient, and sometimes the response that people get from their GPs is not so positive, and it's more difficult for people to get the test through their GPs. And in fact, that was my own personal experience a year and a half ago. What perhaps we don't understand is just how many people are getting diagnosed with prostate cancer a year. It's about 60,000 in total. And you might say, I hear some people say, well, this is the sort of disease that affects old men. And they always say you're going to die of something else other than it. But if you think that's the case, you want to talk to Chris Hoy. About 15,000 men between the ages of 40 and 64 get diagnosed every year. That's 5 times as many people as women get diagnosed with cervical cancer, by the way, and there's a national programme for that. The reason for wanting to just speak quickly before I ask a question of the leader is that in the news, just as I was writing this question, you probably saw as well on the BBC that the National Screening Committee have decided not to screen the population. They've decided not to screen black men. By the way, they're 1 in 4 chance of getting prostate cancer. They decided not to screen men with a family history. Instead,
I'm going to push you for a question. I'm sorry, Councillor Keithley.
No problem. They're going to screen a non-specific gene. So it's really important we carry on with this. My question to the leader is, please, can we put on record our thanks to Nick Cadd and his team, who turned up all 7 Saturdays and gave the Saturdays up, to the South Warwickshire Prostate Cancer Support Group, who also turned up to support the events, and also to the Graham Fulford Trust. Please, could we put that on record? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Keithley. Well said. I think we all appreciate that. Councillor Keithley, for your second question, do you have a further supplementary?
Oh, yes. Do I have 3 minutes?
You do.
Super. Well, seriously, Leader, thank you very much for the update. It was very interesting to read some of the numbers. I was particularly impressed with the number of people that had downloaded the app, actually, which is knocking on for 60,000. I didn't know that if you didn't click on the cookies, we didn't know that you'd been on the website. That's something that we can all take away. It's quite interesting. The one thing that I'm really interested in doing is to increase the number of subscribers to the online view, because that's pushed out on your emails, and it's a great source of regular high cadence information about the great things that this council is doing. So my question is, I'd like to see that increase in subscribers to the online view. Perhaps, Leader, we could make a note of that in the printed view, which is going to be coming out early in the new year. Thank you.
Can I respond to thank you for that, because communication, I think, is an absolute essential. And I would urge all councillors to download the online view themselves, and also the map app on their phones where possible. But remembering that there is a lot of people who are not able to have things online, so therefore we need other methods. But communication is absolutely essential. And just going back to your previous question about the PSA, the kind of information that went on the online view and in the parish and partners briefing, which went to all parish councils, there was considerable information about the PSA testing as well. So it is crucial that we encourage and support ways in which news from this council gets out. And just to kind of add to what you said about PSA, etc., we do need a national targeted, a national screening arrangement as well for that. And perhaps this could, what we've done at this council can be seen as a precursor and put pressure on government to make sure that that prostate cancer is also addressed in men properly, just in a proper screening programme. But meanwhile, thank you very much for starting that process off, and just make sure that we keep up this information flow with all our residents. I would certainly recommend what the officers have done here when you look at what's gone into the online view and also onto the parish and partners briefing. Fantastic amount of news. We just need to keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Juned. Item 21. Questions to the leader. Note that up to 30 minutes will be allowed for questions, with each councillor permitted to speak for no more than 3 minutes and may ask no more than 2 questions. Due to the time constraint, please keep your questions concise. Please note, for the duration of this item, I will be taking the order of questions sequentially by political balance. Does anyone have any questions for the leader?
Parker. Then we have Ben. Yeah. Now, have you got?
Can you keep your hands up, please?
Keep your hands up. Yeah, thank you.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right. It's 5 to 4. 25 past 4, we finish. So I'm going to start with Councillor Pemberton.
Thank you, Chair. We've heard through today and we've debated a number of different issues, and throughout all of those issues we've been provided with great support, good data, good information by all of our officers. So will the leader join with me in thanking at Christmas the hard and exemplary work of each of any one of our officers in this district council for providing us with the tools to do our job, and to wish them all a very Merry Christmas.
I would be most welcome, most happy to join you in that one. And I will also, from my own point of view, would like to be able to thank, and I have done previously, to members of staff. They do a lot of valuable work. As somebody who's worked with local government professionally for the last 30-odd years, I do realise the value of local government and as being the local area of democracy that's closest to people. And it is absolutely invaluable, the work that they do, and I would like to join and make sure that that message goes to our members of staff, that it is all that work is appreciated.
Thank you. Councillor Wally-Hoggins.
Can the leader give assurances that key performance indicators will be demanded of the planning enforcement team, especially in light of the fact that they continue to assert that they are inadequately resourced, as surely KPIs are entirely necessary to identify resourcing needs and inadequacies within the team that would be resolved through further financial resources. In addition, how is the leader going to ensure that planning enforcement is properly scrutinised, as it became clear last week that the regulatory committee is unable to do this due to constitutional barriers?
The one thing we need to do with planning enforcement is actually change the national legislation. The national legislation actually says that planning enforcement is a discretionary function, and there are quite a lot of limits to it. One of the things that we've done, as reported earlier, the review of other policies at this council, we are strengthening, but the planning enforcement is still to be done, and that will be part and parcel of future work to make sure that we are doing whatever needs to be done under planning enforcement, so within the limits of the legislation at a national level. If there are limits, if there are things that need to be done at a national level, we will make sure that those messages go through our various members of Parliament. There is also, during the budget, there will also be the chance to look at the amount of money that goes into that department, but also we also need to make sure that they are responding, as all departments are, to making sure that they report back on the reasons why things are not done, as well as reason things are done. I have to say, I have great admiration for the team, and there's a lot of work, very good work that's done, but there are areas that need strengthening, and they will be done under the new review. But we also need to make our representations through to government about the law nationally.
Thank you. Councillor Crump.
Thank you, Chair. Just a very brief question, Leader. At previous full council, I offered my services about the Armed Forces Champion, because that post was vacant. You didn't say no, but you didn't say yes, so no news is good news. I just wondered whether you had actually appointed anybody to take on this post, and when will that person be started? Thank you.
Nobody's been appointed to the post yet. One of the things that I think would be recommended is to actually ask all councillors to find out if there's anybody within the council that has an experience of the armed forces, or working with the armed forces, or working with other similar to the armed forces, and that is something that I would invite councillors to come forward and put forward their experience that maybe that they have to contribute to the work of this council.
Thank you. Councillor Parry.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Leader. As SDC is a consultee regarding the proposed planning application for a sand and gravel quarry at Barford, can the Leader advise if the Council will be supporting both the Wellesbourne and Walton and Hampton Lucy neighbourhood plans, and also the Warwick District Council's local plan, by objecting to this planning proposal, which is currently under consultation at Warwickshire County Council, as it will have a significant impact on all my residents in the Wellesbourne North and Rural Division ward, and also perhaps to encourage other colleagues in the council to put a stop to this sand and gravel quarry, as Warwickshire County Council already has a surplus for this type of mineral extraction. Thank you.
Could I, at this stage, bring in the monitoring officer, because I think this is one that where we do need a bit of guidance on this one, and this is a kind of question that would have actually been better had it been put into writing. But I think we need some guidance, because this strays over into legal area and is not really a subject that we can answer in full council.
Thank you, Leader. Just on the specific point of the matter that you've referred to as what appears to be an ongoing matter, It is within our constitution that if there is an ongoing matter being considered, that certainly if it relates to planning of this nature, that it's not normally discussed in this way in an open meeting, and certainly not at full council.
Thank you. Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Leader. I have a question which I'm going to come to in a second, but very briefly, I would like to indulge quickly in saying that for the benefit of the local Reform Party and their campaign literature, that Councillor Hatch remains in hospital and that we look forward to having her back so that she can once again maintain her absence record. On to the question. Question is, at the last full council meeting, there was overwhelming support for the reinstatement of the Honeybourne rail link, and I know that members, especially opposite, are also very interested in this as a route forward and perhaps an alternative to the southern bypass on road. And I would like to ask the Leader, what are the next steps, please? Thank you.
One of the things that we need to do as part of the South Warwickshire Local Plan, and again, we can update you when we come to the workshop, is look at all modes of transport. But what we need to do also is engage, and I have had a discussion with the head of development recently about making representations down to MHCLG about the ways in which we can. This is not just about one part of our district. This is a much bigger issue about how we look at transport overall, not only in our district, but in related districts and nearby districts as well. And it is something that we will need to carry forward, not only as part and parcel of the South Warwickshire Local Plan, but other parts of the policies of this council.
Councillor Pemberton, do you have a point of clarification?
Point of clarification. My recollection was that there was overwhelming support to look at all options, and I recall the Deputy Leader specifically talking about keeping all options open around the Honeybourne. So it is not correct to say that there is universal support for what is termed heavy rail as the only solution there. So I think the Deputy Leader was keen to keep on the table other options around that. So I think that just point of clarification should be there, because there could well be more than one way to skin that particular insert animal of choice.
Can I just back that we have to keep all options on the table, because it's not only about, for example, Long Marston. There is also the new town at Worcester Parkway, for example. There are much bigger issues around this, and we have to keep an open mind. But we also have to seek the funding. It is absolutely crucial. Nothing can happen without the funding.
Thank you. Councillor Grocott.
Thank you, Chair. Leader, the Stratford Christmas Market was held on the previous 2 weekends, which is the 29th and 30th of November and the 6th and 7th of December. I'm pleased to hear from initial feedback that the event has been very positive. There's no reports. The footfall numbers are up on last year. There were no incidences reported for traffic or car parking, no medical emergencies, and and good to see that visitors and our residents were able to enjoy this event in a safe environment. I'd like to say this is due to the hard work of the various teams and officers, and in the council. I'd like to, would the Leader join me in thanking the officers and their teams in the following departments: the Andrew Green in the events and markets team, Henry Beddington and his environmental health and licensing team, and obviously Crayborn and his street scene team, to make sure that we have good events where we are supporting all the processes to make sure that we can hold lots of events that are successful. Thank you.
Yes, indeed, I would happily back that, because a lot of hard work has gone on to get a much better model than existed before. I did see mention from London that this was recognised as a really, really good market this last year. I'd like to mention and congratulate members of staff, but also mention that all the other work that went on, for example, the hostile vehicle mitigation work that was done, the CCTV teams that have looked at the local bid and all the other bid bodies that have been involved in helping to get this market to where it is and being so successful this year.
Thank you. Councillor Shenton.
That caught me by surprise. With regards to the Warwickshire Rural Community Council and the devastating news that we received about the closure and the effect that this will have on some communities' residents, warm hubs, which are close to both Councillor Fleming's heart and myself, as we both run warm hubs, and not least the staff of WRCC. The decision was apparently taken on the 25th of November, but was not announced until the 30th of November. So whereupon all the staff were laid off with immediate effect. What notice were you given by WRCC? And curiosity gets the better of me here. There's a slightly tongue-in-cheek question, but is it just coincidence that the chief executive of the WRCC trustees shares the same surname as Councillor Coucher?
I don't think that is a matter for discussion at all. We were notified after the cabinet meeting of the fact that, sadly, all the staff from WRCC had been made redundant because of the financial situation. One of the key bodies, the key member of staff that we have worked with for a long, long time, and who I was hoping would continue to work with us because the rural housing enabler role, a very vital role, one that we have valued and worked with for many, many years. It is one of the things that we now are taking forward to find a solution, because we want to be able to keep the knowledge and the contacts of that rural housing enabler in the council, making sure that we carry on with that kind of work. It is vitally needed. It's a very sad time when an organisation like this falls into financial problems, but we need to find a way of keeping the vital parts that that will help the work of this council, and we're already on that case.
Thank you. Councillor Ballinger.
Thank you, Chair. I've got two. Can I ask both?
Could you take one now, and then I'll ask you later for we have plenty of time, believe it or not.
Thank you, Chair. We received thanks from the head teacher of Ulster Academy for their recent SIL allocations, which has been gratefully received. Just a bit of background about the school. The school is in Councillor Holmes' ward, but houses students with a capacity of 650 from Ulster West, Ulster East, Bidford and Salford Priors. But has not previously received any SIL funding despite the developments in these areas. Could the leader share the thanks from the school staff and councillors with this council for this allocation? Thank you.
I was taken by surprise when at the Remembrance Sunday parade, the head teacher of the Ulster Academy came up and actually gave me a physical hug. And I said, wow. And she said, thank you. And please make sure that everyone at the Stratford District Council know the results of this allocation. The district, the Ulster Academy takes pupils from Salford Priors, Bidford, as well as Ulster. Because there's been the development in those areas, they've received a lot more students over the years. But they had two particular areas where they found themselves in difficulty. One was a danger area, which was a pinch point, which they're having to kind of manage within the school. But the other one was making sure that they had adequate sports facilities for the pupils they took on. are taking on. They want to be able to take all the pupils that are interested in coming to the school. So yes, it was an overwhelming thanks, and I'm so happy to be able to spread that thanks to the officers here who enabled it to happen, and also their portfolio holder who changed the system to allow that to happen. Thank you.
Councillor Fleming.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Leader. Slightly different point from Councillor Shenton's. I've been involved with WRCC we're into our 5th year of running the Warm Hub in Stratford-on-Avon. We get 60 to 70 people a week. And only 10 days ago, I was confirmed that we were going to get a substantial grant for the winter Warm Hub food that we provide through the winter months, which we've started doing anyway. Now, what I really would like to know is, does the Leader have any idea whether WRCC got the money from Cadent, or did they not get the money from Cadent? So, really, is there some way that SDC can pick up some slack on this? Because this is going to affect a lot of lonely and vulnerable people. That's the first part of the question. Second one is, Meals on Wheels. They did Meals on Wheels. They got 15 Fiat 500s they delivered meals in. Is there any kind of resilience for this essential service, and is the Leader aware of how that's going to be managed? I know that you've already been in discussions with Councillor Pemberton re the housing part of it, and I've spoken to the clerk in Bidford, because we've got a WRCC sponsored development coming up in Broome, but that's not going to affect that because Linfoot Homes are apparently going to carry on without it. So really, short and sweet, is there anything we can do about the Meals on Wheels part? And also, is there anything we can do about the warm hubs? Because we're going to lose a lot of vulnerable people without the system if this can't go ahead, or at least be controlled and added to. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. I think probably we need a briefing on all of these issues, because the cost of living is something that is not going to go away. You know, I know, because I have one of the most deprived wards in the district. I think it's about the 2nd most deprived ward in the district. So I do know that there are people who are struggling with cost of living, not only energy bills, but also the cost of food. I think I got some information the other day. I can't remember whether I placed it on my iPad or not, about the cost of food. Yes, the increases in the cost of everyday food, such as bread, fruit, vegetables, dairy and meat, have been outpacing general inflation last year. And the annual grocery inflation is now running at 4.7% in the 4 weeks to the 2nd of November. So we do have issues about cost of living and buying food. I do know that Warwickshire County Council has always in the past done some work on warm hubs as well, at libraries, etc. That needs to be picked up as well. I would suggest that this is probably something that we need to take on board during the budget discussions about how this district council can carry on. I think last year we put 600,000 into cost of living type, support, and we've got a lot of other cost of living information on the website. But we do need to pick this up, and we do need a briefing to find out what help WRCC was offering that we can then maybe pick up. One of the things, some of the functions of WRCC would more naturally go to the county council, but obviously with unitarisation coming, whatever the decision is, we are going to have to pick up a lot of the combinations in whatever council succeeds this district council, making sure that adult social care is aligned with all the preventative work, whether it's exercise, warm hubs, cost of living, or help with energy efficiency, bringing the two together to make sure that people do not get ill just because they happen to be older or with less money, or maybe younger with less money, but making sure that people have a decent standard of living, whatever. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ballinger, your second question.
Sorry, caught me off surprise. Thank you, Chair. Leader, community-owned leisure and sport assets across the district including Ulster, and within my ward specifically in Ulster West, we have, as an example, Ulster Football Club, offer huge benefits to communities and young people in particular. Will the leader undertake to consider what extra support can be offered to help them grow and thrive?
I would gladly offer you one of the things that we need, again, as we go forward into a unitary kind of council, we will have even broader range of powers to be able to bring together some of the work that has been done traditionally by county councils, but which has shown reduction in recent years, which is things like youth clubs, support for youth facilities, with the kind of role of a district council, which is responsible for leisure facilities, etc. It's something that we need to take forward, and I will have discussions with the portfolio holder and the head of development, head of the services that under the neighbourhood services and leisure services, to see what other things this district can do. We probably need a longer term plan to make sure that we can take these forward, but it's I would certainly endorse the idea of making sure that young people are kept fit and healthy by community provided facilities. There are some very good best practices across the country of support for community facilities, where volunteers are raising the money for their local communities, and where we do need to make sure that they've got the support and whatever we can do to help them, I will take forward and try and see if we can develop a policy on it.
Thank you. Councillor Alcock, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just because it's a notification that's popped up to me, and also it leads on to my question. The Victorian Christmas Market in Stratford-on-Avon is officially one of the best Christmas markets in the UK. That has been formally announced now, so congratulations on that to all involved, including Stratford Town Council and Stratford Bid. It is an excellent achievement for what we've done. I'm aware, Leader, that there's been investment into hostile vehicle mitigation that have been purchased by this council for events like this. Can you tell me, please, how parish councils and people who organise events in the town can also benefit from this purchase by the district council?
Yes, I can make sure that you get the written response to that one, but the idea of investing in them originally was that they would then be available for other parish councils and other organisations to be able to borrow, and rather than having to all the time hire in. So that was the original intention, and I will make sure that you get the actual the way in which parish councils or other organisations can access that equipment.
Thank you. Right. There's 5 minutes left. If anybody has a further question for the leader. Shh. I've been told. Thank you. Okay, we move on. Item 23. Item 22. Notice on motions. Motions on notice. No motions on notice were received. Item 23, urgent business. There's no urgent business. The next meeting of the council is scheduled to take place on Monday the 23rd of February 2026. Councillors, I have provided in the back of the room some mince pies and a little libation of your choice. It's red or white or orange juice. And there being no further... Oh, no, actually, do you know, I want to wish you all a very, very happy Christmas, a very, very prosperous new year, and thank you for a very, very good council meeting. There being no further business, I declare the council meeting closed.